This is Robert Harper with Virginia Farm Bureau's Grain Division. Glad to bring you the Merchandiser Minute for Friday, October the 2nd, 2020. We've had the privilege of flipping the calendar over to a new month and to a new quarter this week, and that definitely sparked a lot of interest with speculators, buying interest this week in the markets. We really had a bullish tone all week, and that tone came from the anticipation of the quarterly stocks report. It came from what that report actually said. We also saw the La Nina story building and the dryness building in South America this week, as well as continued Chinese buying and dryness in the Ukraine and Russia impeding fall wheat seedings there. So all that went in together this week for a week that, once again, 2 weeks in a row was pretty positive for futures price action in Chicago. And let's take a look at that as we get started here today. December corn closed up 14 cents for the week at $3.79 a bushel. The new crop bean contract, November soybeans, closed up 18 cents for the week at $10.20 a bushel. And your new crop wheat contract, the July 2021 wheat, was up an amazing 25 cents a bushel this week to close at $5.81. Coming into the week, the Commitment of Traders report, and remember, we'll get a new one again here this afternoon. After good buying last week showed the managed money speculators long corn, long wheat, and long soybeans, optimistic that price would go higher. A pretty modestly size long position in wheat at small size position at 14,000 futures contracts net long. Soybeans, we were still over 200 at 211,000 futures contracts net long, and corn came in for this week at 95,000. And we know at the board up this week that those managed money speculators added length. We also saw a few numbers out of Brazil this week. One in particular was that the soybean crop is 3% planted there. Remember, back in the middle of September, the planting moratorium gets lifted. Farmers can go to the field, but they have been waiting in northern Brazil, in Mato Grosso state. They've been waiting for rains to come before the planters can get rolling at full speed. And again, we're only 3% planted, and that's going to make South American weather, in particular northern Brazil's weather, very important next week as a big influence on futures price direction. We also saw on that front the Ukraine announced this week, Ukraine's ag ministry, that they are in the middle of their slowest wheat planting pace in 10 years, and that because of the dryness there, they're going to see a reduction in wheat acres this year, and that fueled some of the speculator buying in wheat futures this week. If I switch gears a little bit, on Wednesday we get the weekly EIA report. It's a lot in that report. Call me and I can get you a copy of it if you'd like to see it. A lot in there about ethanol and the ethanol industry. One interesting thing we saw this week was a decent drawdown on stocks, as well as a drawdown on production, decline in production. We had production down for the week at 2.8%. and stocks down at 1.5%. If you put that into numbers that I can understand a little better, that means that we ground 89 million bushels of corn for the week. That translates into about 250 million gallons of ethanol. So that industry is still working with gasoline consumption not being where it was before COVID. And that's definitely still making an impact in the amount of corn that's being ground for ethanol. When we look at some USDA crop progress numbers this week, Virginia corn came in at 56% harvested. That was as of Sunday of this week. Last year on that date, we were at 84%. And y'all know it's been a struggle this year to get the corn to dry down, and we are behind, and the numbers show that. When we look at the United States, corn came in at 15% harvested. A week ago, we were at 8% on U.S. corn. U.S. soybeans this week came in at 20% harvested, and the week before that, we were at 6%. So a really fast pace of harvest, and we had another clear week this week weather-wise, really from Omaha to Indianapolis. the combines have been rolling, and we can expect Monday to see another big harvest progress announcement. We did have flash sales this week, and remember, China went on a week-long holiday on October the 1st, their national day. I think it was their 71st year of the Communist Party being in existence. So we're not looking for flash sales announcements from China next week because they're going to be on the holiday. But if we do see Chinese sales announcement next week, that's going to be very bullish for the market, and traders should really react in a positive fashion for that. So let's talk for a minute here about the big quarterly stocks report that brought about so much volatility on Wednesday. Here's what we've got. We had the trade expecting coming into the report 2.2 billion bushels of corn in the bin, and it came in at 1.9. So there's something psychologically positive about the amount of bushels in the bin on September 1st being below 2 billion bushels. Corn was up 15 cents at one point on Wednesday. The bean expectation was 576 million bushels, and it came in at 523. That's million bushels. That drove the bean market up above 30 cents on Wednesday, and we saw wheat come in right in within expectation at 2.1 billion bushels in the bin. But that, coupled with the dry weather in Ukraine and Russia, also drove that wheat rally. So the essential information we need to know from the stocks report is that the quarterly stocks, what was in the bin on September 1st, we get the information on September 30th, came in lower than expected. And that, with the Chinese buying in recent weeks, as well as the dry weather building, has made for a pretty bullish story. And we did see that positive reaction in your futures price. So next week, again, we get another big report next Friday, October the 9th, the crop production report. There'll be a lot of posturing ahead of that. Will USDA lower expected yield? Will they raise the expectations for exports? And we're going to be watching very closely South American weather as well as North American harvest weather. We have seen some improvement this week in local bean basis, and we've seen some interesting developments in corn basis. So give Josie or I a call. This is Robert Harper at Virginia Farm Bureau's Grain Division.